Welcome back and thank you for spending the time to learn about toy safety. This video is a little bit different than the rest and is possibly the most important one I will record because in this one I will talk about understanding the difference between beneficial challenges in risky play and those dangerous hazards and unsafe play. It might sound similar, but the balance is really important. This is because children can get injured, but different injuries mean different things. So small injuries are absolutely perfectly normal part of childhood. You and I and everyone had experience of having scratches and bruises whilst they were playing as they were young. But that also allowed us to learn coordination, movement of our bodies, limitations of our bodies, and we learn what risks mean, how to coordinate ourselves within the environment. All of those are very, very important things. And while all of my other videos focus on specific safety guidance, in this one, I want to help you find the right balance between protection and development. So protecting your child and allowing them to develop these skills. I often hear from parents and some educators that this is a real struggle to strike that balance, especially in one of these three situations. So if your child has disabilities, chronic illnesses, or is for some other reason unaware of risks around them, like maybe their peers would, you might feel extra protective here. This is normal because it can be really hard to know what their unique balance is. If, on the other side, you yourself maybe experienced some accidents in your childhood, you might be determined not to let that happen to your child, hence you have this urge to protect. Or perhaps you are worried about being judged by others for letting your child have and take greater risks than maybe some other children. This is a particularly difficult one because of the parental guilt and the social pressures that everyone is feeling. But the truth is, for all of these three cases and all the other situations in which it might be difficult to make that judgment, protecting our children does not mean wrapping them in bubble wrap and cotton wool and protecting them from everything. We know that's not possible. It's impossible to remove all the hazards and all the risks, but it's also not something that we want to do. We know that not from experience only, but we know it from research as well. Many findings show us that children who are overprotected and maybe don't face appropriate challenges, they often struggle to develop that awareness of risk and sometimes learn that fear as their own and convince themselves that they cannot do difficult things. Both of these then become bigger issues later in life for them. So the question today is, what do you need to know to strike that balance in the moment when it's playtime, when you're outside, and when things get a bit chaotic? So I've organized them into three categories. So situation or the space that you're in, your child, their skills, their abilities, their confidence, and supervision or support that you can offer. Those three things will make or change the situation. So let's start with situation or space. Is everything in that space sturdy and stable? Are the things that your child is using, are those things the right size or height for them? For example, they should be able to reach things without stretching too much to get them climbing. If they're climbing in certain heights, that is okay to make them a little bit nervous, but not absolutely terrified or put their health in danger. And then some safety basics like checking for small parts. There shouldn't be choking hazards in the environment anyway. There shouldn't be dangerously sharp stones and rocks around them when they're jumping, and making sure that there is enough space to move around. So all of those things could mean that space is safe or unsafe. I'll give you more examples later. Second category here is about your child. Now, this is what makes this judgment difficult and what makes judgment different in every situation and unique for your child. We could say it's just around skills, but it's also around confidence, communication they have with you, and trust they have. So What can your children confidently do at this stage? Have you seen them doing a similar activity confidently in some other setting? Do they know, for example, how to climb down, not just climb up? Um, of course, what is their coordination? Can they catch themselves if they stumble? Do they take their time or they rush into things? Do they understand and listen to your instructions? So if you're in a little bit of a distance and you say, feet first down the slide, or we sit on our bottoms when we swing, we say a lot of things. Can they hear us? Can they understand us? Can they follow through? And end of the day, do they trust your judgment? Finally, last category here is about support and supervision. Now, there's different levels we can give our children in terms of support and supervision. So sometimes you will need to stay absolutely super close, and that means staying within arm reach. That's particularly important for very young children. That's important for any new activities. So even if your child is older and capable, if they're doing something for the first time and they've never done something similar, it is useful that you are somewhere near to catch if you need to. You also want to maintain absolute constant visual contact and be with them in person fully, not being on your phone, not being currently on a really important phone call. So that's really important for those new activities and for younger children. But you will be able to judge that a little bit. Your own fear might drive that. In the second category, we have some other times. So when these children have done this activity before, and you might be able to just watch from nearby, right? When you've seen them climb the climbing frame before, or they've done the slide before, you're getting more confident, they're getting more confident. You can just let them do that with regular visual checks and being within hearing distance so that you can react. And eventually, when you've seen that many times and you know they're playing with something that they're quite confident with, they will be ready for independent play. Every parent loves when we get to this independent play stage. So when they show that they can understand the safety rules of the toy that they're playing or activity that they're playing, then they demonstrate the good skill so that they can do this confidently without injuring themselves, without putting too much risk on them. And if you know that there is good attachment, good relationship you have with them, and that they will, in fact, come to you when something feels tricky or something becomes broken or there is a new situation developing. Now, that sounds a little bit abstract, so I wanted to take you through this whole situation and scenario step by step. So before saying yes to an activity, you can ask yourself these things. Can my child get out of this situation comfortably? So can they climb down independently? Do they know how to ask me for help? Can they actually manage themselves in that situation? Then is the environment properly prepared? Are all the safety measures in place? Is this a makeshift playground made out of scrap materials, or is it something that's created specifically for this activity? Have I removed any unnecessary risks? So if it's a makeshift playground, can I remove some stones and rocks and things that are around? Finally, can I provide needed supervision? Now, this is not a simple question as it might sound, because you first of all need to be able to fully focus if you need it. So if you're distracted talking with someone, you might not be able to do that. Can I respond quickly if I'm required? Are they right near me, or are they miles away and I need to run across the park to help them? And finally, if something does happen, do I know what to do and can I do it efficiently? Now, these three questions sit with you because I want you to not only be realistic with your time and focus. We cannot always be 100% with our children, but we need to be able to recognize that. And with the final question, you want to educate yourself either through mini first aid courses, pediatric first aid, whatever you can find, so that if situations do arise, you can be the one to support your child in the right way. So, final note here is to remember that it's absolutely okay to let them try. And it's absolutely okay to change your mind as well after you've said that, yes. If later you deem that this is unsafe or you see it was maybe a wrong call, this is what makes you a parent, that you can say what is safe or not, and also recognize that you as human can make mistakes. Now, okay, let's say this is all absolutely safe. You said yes to your child happily runs to the playground. Your job is, of course, to keep watch, right? To make sure that whatever you saw that made that decision is still in the same way. What I mean by that, so keeping an eye on your child. Notice, for example, when they're getting tired. You could say things like, oh, you use your strong muscles so much there. Shall we give them a little break and see what they can do later? Or keeping an eye on toys and equipment that they're using. You can also make that playful, trust me. So one example would be to take a role of a detective. So everyone freeze. Detective passing through. I need to quickly make sure everything is still safe and sound. First check, good. Second check, good. Excellent. You can continue. So you can make that kind of role play with your child if that's something that they're playing, you can join in just to do a quick sweep and check. Finally, you want to notice their progress and narrate any change of difficulty if they themselves are not aware, and children are often not. What I mean by that is that if they're climbing higher, they might see that as a similar activity, but you can see that challenge here increases, so you want them to know that as well. So instead of screaming, careful, careful, you might want to say things like, look how good and quick climber you are. Are you ready to try the next challenge? And then you support them with that in the next one. Another challenge? Are you sure you can do more? So you can narrate and with your responses, show to the child what they are doing, notice their progress, and keep it all safe together. There are situations which are, in the middle, which are on the edge, when you're not sure if you need to just stop it altogether or can you simply help. So here is the real beauty and the real art of knowing where the balance is. Sometimes you can just put something in place, so change the activity slightly to make it safe instead of stopping it altogether, right? So here are a few examples. If an activity is too hard, you can say things like, let's break this down into smaller steps. You can adapt it. You can act as support, like, hold them for this one segment. And if they are scared, you can voice that and say things like, oof, this is a really big slide. Are you feeling brave about it today? Or are you feeling a little bit nervous? Because you're opening up for both options and you're making it safe to talk about it and to maybe help, to ask for help. If something is unsafe, let's say you're noticing something that's unsafe, but you know your child, you need to help this situation, but maybe in a nice and compassionate way. You can turn this in a way that you express your emotion. So here's an example. This feels a little bit wobbly. It makes me scared that you'll get hurt. Can we find something sturdier? Or let's move here. This is sturdier and I feel a lot better now. Another situation that is very, very common is when activities get mixed up. So you have an area where it's safe to run and you have area where it's, I don't know, safe to climb. But children tend to climb really quickly or run up and, mix activities. You could then, as an adult, keep this safe by saying things like, that path is for running and this castle is for climbing. Do you want to run over there or do you want to climb over here? You are giving a choice, but you're enforcing what is meant to be done where. Because, young children might not understand the reasons behind not running inside the castle. And reasoning sometimes doesn't work, does it? So there's a lot that you can do to make sure that play is developmental, that is helping your child develop these new skills without necessarily going into the area of unsafe, dangerous play. It's very hard for me or any expert to tell you what is safe and what's not safe. There are, of course, some very clear rules, which you'll see in the videos below, but often we deal with this gray situation where we need to make a judgment. And I'm hoping that this video with these signs and questions and ideas can help you in those gray situations where it's relatively safe, but is it really, could it develop into something more unsafe? So I want you to just remember that the goal here is not to avoid all challenges. It's just to find the right ones for your child and for you who have the certain level of available time and focus at the moment. So space, child, supervision. A simple challenge for one child could be absolutely dangerous hazard for the other child. So my idea is that by learning about risks and knowing your child well, you will be able to make those decisions in the moment when they happen. And then when they master something new, it's a very proud moment for everyone. So you're helping them build confidence and learn to trust their own judgment too.